Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hybrid Ministry Podcast. I, as always, am your host, Nick Clayson, sipping my coffee. If you're on the YouTube stream, you get to see, hear, and listen to this beauty. Rest of y'all, excited to be with you. Sorry that you had to endure that coffee pause, but thrilled to be with you. And in today's episode, we have a little bit of a recap. So I linked a couple of things down in the show notes, but you'll notice, and if you were around or have been around for a minute, you'll know that I just recently started a new job. And I say recently, within the last, 11 months or 9 months or so. Started in September. So whenever this is airing, you can do the math on that, right? And I dropped an episode 11, a little bit, just honestly, a little bit of a filler episode. I was trying to limp myself through, thinking I was going to get a co-host back. Never did. May he rest in peace. He's not actually dead, but he's dead to this podcast. And I miss him, but we have moved on and gone on to greater things. Anyway, the episode was fleshing out a digital strategy. And so in that episode, I spent a lot of time talking about website, email, SEO. And then in one of our more recent runs of episodes, we dropped the complete 6-part social media framework, 7 episodes with an intro. And so I have linked that playlist on YouTube, that playlist to YouTube. It's also on our podcast catcher, just, in order for 7 weeks in a row. So you can go back and listen to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see them in your feed here. Either way. But I wanted to drop both of those because basically that's what I have been on this podcast saying. You should do this. You should do that. Here's why. Here's the strategy behind those things. And now I am going to take those things and I am going to report them to you how they're going. So the first part of that was, website and email. I'll just be very clear. I don't have any analytics to go off of that. We use Church Community Builder and we send all of our emails through that. And for 2 reasons. Number one, I don't care enough. And number two, someone has told us that we're unable to track open and click rates. I don't know if that's entirely true, but again, I don't care enough and I haven't dove into that, just being completely frank. I know I should, but I haven't really had time. So I don't have any analytics on that. The other thing is our website. I can show you what we came up with. I'm not personally a huge fan of it. There are limitations and constraints both by our website builder and by the way that our website is built and fleshed out to the rest of the church that make ours less than what we would hoped and less than optimal. But if you've ever worked in church any bit of time, you know that there's just a game to play with getting along with the other people. So I'll link our website in the show notes. You can check it out and see if what I said in episode 11 matches what we have now. I don't think it does, so I'm just going to give that full disclosure. You can look at me like, this stinks, and I can be like, yeah, I know. But anyway, all that to be said, I am going to dive into our stats on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But before I do, like I said, so thrilled to have you. If you wouldn't mind dropping a rating or a review or a like or a subscribe on YouTube, that would be incredible. We're also trying to start gathering some questions for a couple future Q&A episodes. So if you don't mind, head to our website, link to that in the show notes as well, with just some questions and things that you have about regarding social media, running social media, digital ministry, any of those types of things. We would love to answer them. But without any further ado, let's dive in to this episode called Progress Report 2023. How am I actually doing? Let's go. What is the current state of our social media and our Generation Z demographics? First of all, let's look at some overall social media data. So what we know is that we have 4.7 billion people that are using social media worldwide. That is 59% of the population. And when you look at that through the lens of the Great Commission, go therefore and preach the gospel to the entire world, making disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Like, you see that social media is actually an opportunity to preach the gospel to all nations, at least 59% of the population. In addition to that, 2 hours and 29 minutes is the average daily time spent using social media, and 73% of customers, according to a a company called Wise Owl, prefer to watch a video than they do prefer to read a text-based post. This is like marketing. So this is like a company saying like they'd rather watch a text ad than read them, or they'd rather watch a video ad than read a text ad. And then 96% of people in the world have ever watched an explainer type of video. And finally, people are 2 times more likely to share video content than other content. So that's social media worldwide. Here's what we have about Gen Z. And if you've been on this podcast or listened to us any length of time, you've heard these before. But Generation Z is the first generation in history to use their mobile device more than any other device. So more than any other device, I should say, combined. Okay. So Gen Z is using their mobile device at a alarmingly high rate. They are not just digital natives, like they are becoming digitally dependent. And I shared this, I think, on a recent episode as well, but Gen Alpha behind them is going to be even more digitally dependent. The mobile device is the key to all of this. And I know if you're listening, you're thinking that's bad. We need to get them away from it. And it might be bad. I don't know that we're getting anybody away from it. So I think the question needs to shift to be like, instead of how do we get people away from it? Because let's be honest, right now, if you're listening to this, you're using your mobile device. Right now, if you're on a road trip, let's be honest, you're probably using your mobile device as your GPS. Today, you're probably looking at your calendar on your mobile device. And are all of those things possible? Can you buy an old school GPS and use a paper day timer and listen to a podcast just on your computer while you're sitting in the office? Technically, yes, but it's not very convenient, right? Your mobile device is your one-stop shop, your hub for almost everything in your life. And so it's not just about social media. It is the fact that it is a lifeline. It is a lifeblood. It is everything that you do and that you use. And so the problem with that is a lot of times we try to disciple teens, Gen Z, young people away from their phones when what we need to be doing is help produce within them good digital hygiene and good coping mechanisms and good skills with interacting with their phone and learning how to grow in their faith while having a phone as a part of their life, as opposed to just discarding it and getting away from it. Because we can, just scale back and go to flip phones. But 2 things. 1, probably most people are not going to opt into that. And 2, it's actually more expensive and more inconvenient to do that through the cell phone companies. So how do we help move people through and help them grow in discipleship? I honestly think that is a sign of the time, a thing that any of us in church ministry, leadership, youth ministry, whatever your role is in church staff, that's something that we're going to have to be prepared to do. That's a conversation that we need to be willing to have. And I just think that pulling back and just saying no thanks to it is not very is not good stewardship of what God has given us. In fact, what I'll do is I'll link an episode to one of the Pro Church Tool shows that Brady shared. He actually did a response episode to a guy who was on Preston Sprinkle's podcast talking about the dangers of technology. And I thought that him and his co-host Alexander Mills had really, really great thoughts and responses to it. And it lines up a lot with what I think. So I'll link that episode in the show notes. If you're interested in that, go check them out. They're amazing. Love everything that they do, but go check that out. Okay. Further data on Gen Z. Millennials and subsequently Gen Z, I should say, have said that a hybrid version of church will suit their needs going forward in a post-pandemic world. That comes from Barna's recent study. It came out about a year or so ago on Barna's 6 findings of the hybrid and future of the church. That I was already thinking about doing this podcast, but I hadn't launched it yet. So that came out right around when I launched this podcast, and I love that word hybrid. And Barna used that word hybrid, and I've latched onto a lot of the data out of that thing. And so hybrid is one of the means and measures going forward that Gen Z and millennials prefer. I just think we have to do that in such a way that we don't lose the good elements of in-person ministry or in-person community, and give them, like a framework to help them grow in their faith, but not become too dependent upon technology. And I just think that's a tricky balance to walk. And I think that you and I are the leaders that God has chosen to help navigate that. Finally, greater than 80% of 18 to 29-year-olds, which is the youngest age data available legally because you can't survey anyone under the age of 18, greater than 80% use at least one social media app regularly, which is the highest of all the age breakdowns between 18, 29, 30 to 39, whatever the breakdowns are. And we can just assume that that's going to be higher in generations younger than the age of 18 and moving forward. So all that being said, social media, cell phone usage, and hybrid ministry, not really going anywhere. That's the backdrop basis for why we do this, why I'm so passionate about hybrid ministry. If you go back and listen to the intro of episode 11, I say, I'm in the buckle of the Bible Belt, Dallas, Texas. I'm at a church that barely shut down for COVID, and I'm in a ministry that is thriving with an in-person moment. They're not clamoring, begging, or looking for hybrid. So why did we lean into it? This is the reason why, right? Like, this is why we went for some of these things. We pushed the chips in on the middle because while right now it may not be a priority, it may not be on the forefront of people's minds, it is the currency, it is the native tongue of Generation Z and subsequently soon to be Generation Alpha. And so we want to at least be out there doing some stuff, trying some stuff. Listen, I'll be the first to say it, and the report is going to yield this a little bit. I don't know for sure if what I'm doing is the best way to reach, disciple, preach the gospel to Generation Z and Generation Alpha. However, the fact that we're doing things makes whatever potential future shift possible, makes us be able to adapt quicker because we have cameras, we have infrastructure, we have someone thinking about it, we're posting regularly, we can watch some of those trends. So rather than just sit back and wait for the picture perfect thing, we're going to go out there and we're going to try some stuff and we're going to tweak and adapt along the way. And we are. Like, I have some shifts coming and I'm going to let you know about those at the end of the episode or in a future episode. So all that to be said, like, this is why we're doing it. In person is important. It matters. It's meaningful. But episode, I believe, is 42. Can you be discipled exclusively online? I don't think the answer is an either or a both and. My conclusion is that if someone really wants to learn and hone in on some of their skills, they can do that. And I gave several examples of things that I have learned without ever having any sort of in-person experience or moment. My wife included. Like, there are a lot of ways that you can learn and you can dive deep in all sorts of topics, and the Bible does not have to be excluded from that. Like, that is very much a possibility of things that we can do. And the beautiful thing is, as a church, if we offer some of those moments and some of those learnings, we have to go with that. We compare with online stuff. We compare in-person moments. We compare authentic community, family feelings, and we can fuse those two things together. That's where hybrid really has its opportunity to make its most impact. I think you don't have to be either or both and, right? Like, the reason in episode 42, can you be discipled exclusively online? The reason that I don't have a relationship with any of the people from the Oklahoma City Thunder podcast is because I don't live in Oklahoma City. I've never had an opportunity to get to know them. I'm 3 hours away now in Dallas, but before that, I've been 12 hours or 15 hours away from Oklahoma City. Online was the only way. It was the only path forward for learning, the only path forward for education. And so I took it, okay? But now as a church, we can offer these things online that also supplement and go right along with what we're doing in person. All right, so how are we doing on TikTok? In just 11 years, from 2011 to 2022, TikTok grew from estimated 0 users to around 1 billion estimated users. That is the fastest, most skyrocketed growth. It's behind Facebook at 2.9 billion, YouTube at 2.2 billion, Instagram at 1.4 billion, and then TikTok is at 1 billion. Obviously, we're assuming that that's going to continue to move and grow. And so I want to share some of our individual personalized data. And I'll be honest, TikTok has adjusted some of their algorithm. There's a lot of people, even on the TikTok For You page, lamenting that shift and talking and chatting through why people's views are stuck at 200-300. And we're squarely there. I'm just going to lay it out for you fully, completely honestly. But all that being said, okay, we started our TikTok account in mid-September, maybe October. So somewhere around there. And whenever you're listening to it, I'm recording this on May the 3rd. And so I have the most up-to-date data based on May the 3rd. I also shifted our TikTok account the second day of March, I believe. So we are right around 2 months now at this point, shifted it to a business profile account. Okay. And so we have the ability to have some creator tools and some deeper analytics that only really date back to March. And so we have lifetime data, which we are following 18 accounts. We have 236 followers, and we have 7,473 likes. Not amazing. Honestly, it's not. Most, I will say though, of our followers are completely organic. And so you got to think, in a church that runs its student ministry of about 200 people, we have reached basically 236 completely random people. And TikTok followers are not the same as YouTube followers. They don't respond the same. I've heard that from other like creators and stuff like that. All that being said, you just got to think, like, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, would you as a pastor or would you as a social ministry or social media manager want the desire to have an audience of 236 people that commit to follow you? That doesn't even include views and likes and those types of things, right? Just followers. Would you want that? I think most of us would say yes. And so while you might be like, man, that's not amazing. I know, I'm aware of it, right? Like, I'm running it actively. It's still also not nothing, all right? Okay, so what about since we converted to a business profile? So here's some of the stuff that we have. Video views, 34,184. We have 308 profile views. We have 2,827 likes. We have 84 comments, and we have 118 shares. Furthermore, if you dive into just specifically last week's content and analytics, here's what I'll do. I will link this report. I won't bore you with this, but I'll just pull out at a quick glance. I haven't even like really dove into it deeply. Yeah, I think the highest video that we had was just like 269 with a couple of comments and a like, and like 22 or something like that likes. And that was me filming a game of some of our students playing a game called App Store Showdown. So you can see that like it doesn't require you being all up on trends. Like, I recorded a game, I did some brief editing, and I made, I had 10 questions on it or whatever, and I made 10 slides, and then I'm just sprinkling them out, scheduling them out throughout the month. So not super difficult. That is our most recent up-to-date TikTok analytics. All right, so let's talk about YouTube. What is it looking like on YouTube? You'll know that I'm a big proponent of YouTube. I think that shorts are much more advantageous to use right now. And I also think that if you post messages or any sort of like spiritual content, then all of your short form content, because by the way, I should have said this earlier, everything we're doing is short form content on all of these platforms. Like, there's barely any other strategy around anything else. And so if you have those, having something longer on YouTube allows you to push your content and push your people or anyone that stumbles across any of your videos to follow you for longer form stuff. YouTube is the second or third, depending on who you talk to, largest search engine in the world. And if it's considered third, it's only behind Google Images. So it's Google Images, and then YouTube. If you consider Google Images a part of Google, then it's the second, right? Because Google and Google Images are the same, and then YouTube is the second. So our analytics, we have 126 current subscribers. In the year 2023, which is our YouTube channel's only been around since January 1st of 2023, we have gotten 52,432 views in our videos. We've had 291 hours of watch time, and our subscribers are up by 125 because I think I subscribed before it launched in January. So 126 subscribers. Our top performing long form video has gotten 56 views, 4 hours of watch time. I think 18 subscribes. And then our analytics, our channel analytics, is that we have 32,000 unique viewers, 42 returning viewers, and then plus 80 on subscribers from people who have come across our stuff on YouTube. All right, so what about Instagram? While Instagram is skewing older and older, being used primarily by millennials, there's still 62% of US teens that claim to be users of Instagram. Our Instagram, like most of you probably have had an Instagram account for a while, and that's the same with us. We inherited an Instagram account. Of all the things, TikTok was new, YouTube was new, and our Facebook page is also a retread, but the main thing we're doing on Facebook is our parent group, which is also new. So Facebook, Instagram, something that has already existed. Everything else completely brand new. So all the data I have been sharing with you is from things that are completely brand new. So we inherited an Instagram account. So these stats are going to be a little more leveled off. 2 reasons. One, we already had a pretty big following on there, so we're not going to see some of that skyrocketing type growth. And secondly, it's skewing older and it's being used less and less by current Gen Z teenagers. So we've had 1,829 profile visits in the year 2023. We have 785 Instagram followers. I have age demographic breakdown, but the highest, honestly, 20% is 35 to 44-year-old women. So we just got a lot of moms on there, right? We do have 18 to 24-year-olds, and it doesn't go younger than that as a high. That just might be also because teenagers have to lie about their age to get on there. And then the Instagram reach is 122,872. They say that that's a 0% change, though, so we're pretty much holding steady. That being said, we have reached, since January 31st to April 30th, we have reached 40.9 thousand. We have 576 accounts engaged, and we have 785 total followers. So I say all that to say, like, while Instagram is slower and whatever, there's still valuable data happening here on Instagram. 32% of users on Facebook are teenagers. That's not a lot. Is it worth doing? It's not a lot. It's also not nothing. And you can very seamlessly link your Instagram and Facebook. And so I don't even go to Facebook. I literally post on Instagram and also double post on Facebook. And so, like I shared a couple episodes ago, the lottery ticket vibes of just posting it in 4 places. Sometimes some's going to hit, and sometimes it's going to hit over on Facebook. And so our page and profile data, which are the things that have existed, but we've recently revitalized a little bit. We've had 656 page visits. That's up 283.6%. We have reached 26 on our post reach. Not 26. 23,000. Our Facebook page reach is 37,803. But probably the best thing I think that we have going on in the last 60 days, we've added 80 total members to our parent Facebook page, and zero of that is from organic growth. That is all from like people in our church. We send out an email, they click, they join our Facebook group. All right, so in conclusion, I'm not stopping, right? Like, we're going to keep barreling forward. I've been posting 3 times a day, 5 days a week on all of these platforms. I do think one of the things I want to do is I have been focusing a little bit more, just, full disclosure, on quantity as opposed to quality. Not that I'm trying to put crappy stuff out there, but by posting 3 times a day, 15 different posts a week, like, that just becomes a lot, and it's hard for every single one of those to be really good and really meaningful. And so I want to start spending a little bit more time on the edit, which is just going to have to ultimately reduce the number I'm doing. That being said, I don't know that I'm going to see much of a depreciable drop off from 3 to 2. And so really, like, I'm trying to do like 1 spiritual post a day and 1 fun or interesting post a day. Like I said, I'm not just like some consultant out there trying to like get rich, tell you a bunch of stuff and not care about the results. Like, I am a youth pastor. I am trying to live into these hybrid moments. And so I just wanted to share with you. I pulled some of these results for the first time for a work thing, and I wanted to share with y'all. I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, none of these numbers are outlandish. And the reality is, like, I don't think they are. Maybe you heard them and you're like, wow, that sounds crazy. Like, I'd love that. Let me just encourage you, lean in. Like, you can do this. Like, nothing I've done, in my personal opinion, is that insane, that difficult, that crazy, that hard to come by. So just want to encourage you, you can get these same results, because we have been very much middle of the road with our results. Nothing viral, nothing crazy. So just go for it. Lean in. Make it happen. You can do it. Hey, as always, so excited to have you all with us for this episode. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel or us on podcast, please do that, or consider a rating or a review. Share with a friend. Help us get the word out. That would be phenomenal. We would love it. We also want to let you know about our 100% completely free ebook. There are also some free downloads in this episode, the report, the analytics, other episodes and show notes and things that we've talked through. Go check all of those things out. That's at hybridministry.xyz/047. And until next time, and as always, don't forget, stay hybrid.